So, apologies for the lighting today. My company that I work for, Net Standard, does not know the meaning of be prepared, and so they just kind of dumped something in my lap. And I am in the process of making a T1 cross-connect cable as we speak, which for anybody who knows, is a pain in the ass, and something I've already been doing for over an hour. And most of that was just getting the equipment together, admittedly, but that's more of a task than it sounds like, and this is very delicate work. Which someone with shaky hands like myself is not generally someone you would consider to be good at this. But, enough about my woes. What we were talking about today is voice acting, as my entertainment advisor has advised me. As you may or may not be aware, I actually have something of an interest in voice acting, being the kind of person who gets into that sort of thing, especially since I did that for quite a few years there in television, and for a couple of pet game projects back in the day. Now, I don't know if that's related or not. I don't know if, for example, I could actually do professional voice acting. I'm not sure if that's feasible. But it does mean that I tend to be rather picky about my voice acting. You see, there's this, and this is not just about video games. This is about movies, TV shows, that sort of thing as well. But the truth of the matter is, video games seem to have hit this pall. I shouldn't say have hit. They've always been in this pall of we don't know how to voice act. You'll get a game, and they'll either say their inflection wrong, like they're saying in the middle of a conversation, and instead of saying "take me to the location," they'll be like "take me to the location," and it'll just be completely disconnected from whatever is actually happening at the time. It'll just and you just get that over and over again. Or you get people who don't know how to voice act at all, and I'm sure you've heard that. It's kind of hard for me to emulate, but basically what you get is, something I can read here. The, the big shaggy dog went down the stairs and then did the thing. I can't do it. I can't emulate the bad voice acting, because it's just terrible. Whatever. People are dumb. Moving on. This needs to be a bit longer. The point being that in video games, you do have video games that have good voice acting, that just plain have good voice actors. They do happen. I'll give you an example right now. Dragon Age, the first one. Not to say Dragon Age, the second one didn't have voice acting, but the first one really emphasizes this more than anything else, I think. Because every single tiny little NPC, the merchants, the guys are just chatting in the streets. You can't even talk to you can't even select them, but they're still saying lines, which are voice acted, which you can hear, and it's well done. It actually sounds like a dwarf in the middle of Orzammar being like, "Hey, you all suck. Read about it," And then you have games like, oh gosh, what's a good example? You have a game that just had terrible voice acting. Honestly, I'm having trouble coming up with one. Because the next point is the one I really wanted to bring up. Games that have good and bad voice acting. I'll give you an example right off the top of my head because I've been playing it lately. Oblivion. You play Oblivion, and right off the bat, what do you hear? Patrick Stewart. Actually, he's like the third, fourth guy you hear. Damnation. But either way, right at the beginning, Patrick Stewart does a fantastic job because, it's Patrick Stewart, blah, blah, blah. But so many of the random NPCs or the quest NPCs have that inflection problem I talked about earlier, or they just don't know what they're saying, and they don't know where to put the emphasis. They either weren't directed properly or didn't do any research themselves, and so when you hear about, oh my god, Manny Marco has returned, it just sounds retarded, And it's not all of them, too. Patrick Stewart wasn't the only good voice actor in that game. And I'm not just talking about Sean Bean either, or Sean Ben, or however the heck you say his name. But no, there are occasional people, and I should say persons, that do their job well, and actually sound good. Another perfect example here, Dissidia. Final Fantasy Dissidia. 1 and 2, but more 1 than 2, because 2 really nailed down the voice acting a lot better. But in 1, you'll get gems of voice acting by people who really know what they're doing, like the guy who does Golbez, who's... I can't think of his name right now. He does a fantastic job of it. He really does. He sounds exactly like Golbez. The guy who does Cecil even does a good job. You know, the guy who does the girl who does Terra, the girl who does the Cloud of Darkness, Ultimecia, the guy who does the Emperor, Mateus. All of those are good voice actors. But then you have Cloud. Now Cloud's a weird one because the guy who's done the voice acting Cloud has always been the guy. He's like the original. Ever since Kingdom Hearts 1 when he first had a voice actor, it's been the same guy this whole time. You'd think he'd be used to the role by now. It's not like he does a bad job of it. I've heard him. And he's just like, I don't know if I'd want to do that. And he's pulling the excessive William Shatner thing. You know? Oh, come on, cut. Ah. And then you've got something like, oh, I don't know, Kefka. Actually, Kefka's a fantastic job. I'm sorry. Wrong category. Well, as much as I hate to say this, the Warrior of Light, especially in Dissidia 1, was just dull. You know, you could tell he was just a standard anime voice actor, no offense to anime, who did not know how to really emote in his acting. And that's just how it tends to go, you know? I mean, another beautiful example, the Kingdom Hearts series. Every now and again, you have a sequence where the voice acting is fantastic, and Billy Zane is fantastic, and it's awesome. And then you have a sequence where people are either trying to emulate a Disney character and doing a poor job of it. Aladdin in the first Kingdom Hearts really has that syndrome going on badly. Or you have one of the default characters saying something retarded, like, oh, I don't know, Sora. I'm sorry, but Daniel, whatever the heck his name is, Osmond, in the first game, does not know how to voice act. Which is funny, because the kid they got playing Riku did a great job. There are a few lines that Riku had in the first game that I actually felt like he meant them. A beautiful example of that would be at Hollow Bastion, when he's screaming, oh my god, the Heartless are coming. And you actually feel like this is a big deal. Oh god, the Heartless are coming, you know? I'm not doing it right now, obviously. But as opposed to Sora, who's just like, I believe that my heart will win, no matter what. Sorry. Anyways, I suppose the reality of it is I wish we had more games like Dragon Age, you know? Games like, like Mass Effect, another BioWare game. These games actually bothered to tell their characters, the actors, what their character is, why they're acting the way they are, had some real directing going on, so you can actually feel some level of emotion and capacity as you're listening to these people talk about events of galactic importance, or worldly importance, as the case may be. Much as I hate to bash poor Bethesda, they really dropped the ball on the voice acting in Oblivion. Now, that being said, Fallout 3 did perfectly fine, so I have high hopes for, Skyrim, which hopefully will be incredibly awesome. Beyond psyched about that. Anyways, I guess I don't really have anything else to add to that, so I suppose I will now shut up forever. Farewell.